I was 23. I just signed the lease on a small apartment at the edge of the city, tucked between a corner store, a laundromat, and 3 identical houses with peeling fences. It wasn't much. Cracked tiles in the kitchen, a heater that made strange ticking sounds in the winter. But it was mine. And after living with roommates for years, silence felt like freedom. My days were quiet, clock in, clock out. I worked the front desk at a small dental clinic downtown. Got home before dark most nights. Ate frozen meals. Watched bad TV. I locked the door twice. Always. It was a habit. There was a rhythm to everything. Shoes off, kettle on. Scroll my phone. Maybe text my sister. Brush my teeth. Sleep. It became comforting in a way. Predictable. But that's the thing about routine. It makes it harder to notice when something breaks it. At first, it was nothing. Just a door. Not open. Not fully closed. Somewhere in between. I thought the wind did it. Or maybe I hadn't shut it properly. I told myself that a lot in those early weeks. I told myself all kinds of things.
I started noticing small things at first. A mug, always the same one, that I'd left drying on the dish rack. Suddenly on the counter when I came home. The bedroom light, I never left it on. I couldn't sleep with it. But some nights, I'd walk in after work and find it glowing softly, like someone had just left the room. I blamed myself, told myself I was tired, distracted. I even made a checklist on my phone. Turn off light, lock door, close bedroom window. I needed proof that I wasn't slipping. And still, things kept shifting. It wasn't just the apartment. It followed me. One evening, walking back from the bus stop, I felt a pause, like the sidewalk behind me had inhaled. You know that prickling feeling at the base of your neck? That cold awareness you're not as alone as you thought? I turned around fast. Nothing. Just a kid on a bike. Someone smoking across the street. But it kept happening. In the grocery store. At work. I'd glance up and see someone just turning away. Like they didn't want to be seen. I tried to shake it off. But then the notes started showing up. Small, neat handwriting. Mine, or at least it looked like mine. Buy milk. You looked beautiful today. First I laughed. Maybe I'd written them while on the phone, half asleep. But they kept coming. Always in the kitchen. Always on yellow paper. I don't own yellow paper. I bought a small camera and pointed it at the living room. Let it record while I was gone. When I played it back, it showed exactly what you'd expect. Nothing. No movement. No one. Just hours of silence and stillness. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Asterisk. I started waking up exhausted, like I hadn't slept at all. I downloaded a sleep app to track my rest cycles. Something with sound activation. First night, it picked up tossing and turning. Some sleep talking, normal stuff. Second night, I listened to the recording, and I heard something else. A voice. Not loud, not clear, but close. Whispering. My name. I played it back again. Slowed it down. Turned the volume all the way up. The breath wasn't mine. I sat there, frozen in my kitchen, staring at the waveform on my phone. And suddenly it felt like every wall in my apartment was too thin. A few days later, I found something waiting on the doorstep. A small package. No label. No return address. Inside, a bottle of perfume I hadn't worn since college. Then another 2 days later, a hairbrush. Old. Worn. The handle chewed. I didn't recognize it. Until I remembered. I'd lost one just like it years ago. And then came the envelope. Inside, a single photograph. Me. Asleep. Taken from the edge of my bed. The photo was grainy, but it was real. You could see the sheets. My phone on the charger. The image was taken from inside the room. Couldn't breathe. I locked every window, bolted the front door, slept with the lights on. I went to the police. They were polite, took notes, looked concerned. No signs of forced entry.
No fingerprints.
They said, it could be a prank. Maybe someone you know. An ex. I told them no. I hadn't dated in over a year. I hadn't let anyone in. They shrugged, gave me a card, told me to call if anything else happened. My friends told me I was overthinking, suggested therapy, said stress can make you imagine things. But I knew what I saw, and the worst part wasn't the photo. It was knowing that whoever took it never left. I needed to leave, just for a few days. I told myself I was overreacting, but I also packed every essential like I might never come back. I stayed with my sister 3 towns over. She had a 2-bedroom. We ordered food, watched old movies. I told her I just needed a break from work. I didn't say anything about the photo, or the notes, or the brush. I wanted to believe that if I left it all behind, Even briefly, maybe it would stop. When I came back, everything was exactly how I'd left it. Nothing missing, no broken locks, no overturned furniture, no evidence that anyone had been inside. But then I went to brush my teeth, and I saw it, the toothbrush cup. I always placed it in the far right corner of the sink, facing out. It's a habit, muscle memory, but now it was turned, slightly off-center, tilted left. I stared at it for almost a full minute, the smallest thing so easily explainable, and I felt my stomach turn to stone. Something had moved it. I started checking everything, closets, cabinets, under the bed. I opened drawers, looked behind curtains. I even pulled up the bath mat in the bathroom. Nothing, but the air felt wrong. Thick, humid, like someone had been breathing in the same space for too long. That's when I smelled it. Something faint but sharp, like sweat that had soaked into wood. I followed it, into the bedroom, to the closet, and for the first time, I noticed that the coats weren't hanging quite right, like something was pushing them forward from the back. My hands were shaking. I pushed the coats aside. There was a seam in the wall I'd never noticed. Panel, painted over, warped. I dug my fingers into the edge, pulled. Behind it, a crawl space, not big, barely 4 feet wide, but enough to hide in, enough to live in. There was a mattress, thin, stained, food wrappers, empty water bottles, and a phone. The screen lit up when I touched it.
No look.
The photo gallery opened on its own. Hundreds of pictures, all of me, sleeping, eating, brushing my hair, some taken through the bedroom door, some from inside the room. There was one of me sitting in the living room, crying. I never heard the shudder, never saw the flash. He was there. He'd always been there. I turned, and he was standing in the corner, barefoot, quiet. I don't know how long he'd been standing there. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Hair greasy, cheeks sunken, and he was smiling, calm.
Familiar.
I recognized him. A man I'd spoken to once 11 months ago in a coffee shop. He'd asked to borrow my charger. That was it. That was all. But to him, it was everything. He took a step forward and said, "You're even prettier when you don't know I'm looking." I ran. The neighbors heard me scream. The police arrived in minutes. They arrested him. He didn't resist, didn't say a word. But what they found was worse. He had blueprints of my apartment, notes on my schedule when I left for work, what days I ordered food. He'd applied for a job with the property manager under a fake name. That's how he got keys. That's how he got in. That's how he built a place to live. Inside mine. In the walls. He'd done it before. In another city. But the woman never came home. I was the first one to find him. The first one who survived. If this gave you chills, you're not ready for what's coming next. We tell stories that aren't just stories. They happen. They hide in cracks, crawl through walls, live in silence. And sometimes, they find you. So before you turn off this video, tell me in the comments, have you ever felt watched? When you were completely alone? Subscribe, turn off the lights, and whatever you do, don't check your closet.